She's back. She's back. SD Williams is back. Probably slightly overdramatic, but hey, I needed an intro to a video. Today we are looking at SD Williams, the trad wife of TikTok, who went on Dr. Phil. Zooey mama, this is a messy, hot pot of conversation that I look forward to getting into once again. But before we do get into it, let me introduce myself. If this is your first time watching me, hello, my name is Cowder's Life, and on this channel we do video essays talking about things we see on the internet, and then we will discuss it as a team down in the comments below, as like a little community. So if that sounds like fun for you, please feel free to subscribe. We're trying to beat this here old ratio. And if you're not new around here, hello again, nice to see ya. It is raining today, and I have really missed the sound of the rain on my windows. I find it very calming and grounding. I like the rain. I like getting caught in the rain. I'm not really into yoga, and I have half a brain. Anyways, SD Williams. In the last 6 months or so, there's been many videos covering TradWives. As for reasons we'll get into, they have stirred up a lot of controversy. Today we'll be exploring the vulnerabilities and unrealistic aspects of the TradWife lifestyle, examine how it perpetuates harmful gender stereotypes, and also discuss the emergence of SD's husband, who has come online to basically say he's gonna make men great again, talk about masculinity and how we need real leadership among men. Zooey mama. Shush. So with that, let's just rock on into it, shall we? For those who aren't familiar with SD Williams, she's this TikTok content creator who talks largely about being a homemaker, being a trad wife, and what that means. It is this very commercialized concept of what a housewife looks like. You notice she's this very put together image of basically what Creepy Old Man Incorporated want a woman to look like. Yes, be my submissive queen that cooks and cleans for me, and what I say is law. And that's not me just making a joke. She tells you to be submissive to your husband, and his word is the law, and his word is the final decision. If you want something, better go ask your husband, because he has complete financial control over you. This is not a joke. I'm just pointing out what she perpetuates. SD Williams, when you look at all of her content, it's so well put together. It's so social media ready. It almost feels like it was made by like a creepy old ass man for how a woman should conduct themselves. Yeah, you want to have your own financial stability, your own thoughts and opinions, and be able to make your own decisions? I don't think so. Let's create this human that's just gonna make being this powerless human look cool and seem desirable for other impressionable people, whilst it secretly and subconsciously pushes the negative stereotypes within society of pre-existing old gender roles. I don't know why I turned into a bird in that one. Anyways, back on with it. So recently SD appeared on the Dr. Phil show, and you know, she was there to talk about being a trad wife, but when she was presented with realistic questions about it, it kinda all fell apart for her. The mirage and image that she could tailor and control in her TikToks really didn't have anything of substance when she was brought into the world of conversation and debate. In part of the interview, SD was presented with a very horrible but sadly a realistic question to consider of what would happen if your husband, your bread earner, died. And SD went on to answer the question by kind of just showing how vulnerable this lifestyle truly is. She said she didn't complete her college degree because she left to be a homestayer trad wife. The only real work experience she had was being a nanny. And to further highlight what sort of just like weird privilege this is, and just out of touch with the realms of normality, is her conclusion to the question was to just sell the house and move back home with her legal guardians. I feel this just really clearly demonstrates a privileged perspective that is just not accessible to a lot of people. A lot of people don't have the luxury of just going, oh, I can move back home to my elderly parents. That's just not a reality for most people. And this is the big problem with it all. She'll confidently tell you why it's this amazing, fulfilling thing for a young woman to forego her own career, to be this trad wife, this perfect little far-right ideology of how a woman should conduct themselves. And she won't really address the real issues in it. She just smiles and says, it's great, I love it. And I can quickly see how people do fall into the trap of being like, yeah, this does look awesome, because who doesn't want to stay at home and spend time with their family? That's such a fulfilling, amazing experience. But the difference between being a stay-at-home parent and a trad wife is night and day. Say if another person went down this route and they went without the education and the work experience, but they didn't have the luxury of falling back on, I can move back in with my parents, you could be left in a very serious situation where you accrue lots of debt because you can't keep up with the lifestyle that you were presented with if your partner should die. And this kind of brings me on to my second talking point of unrealistic expectations and gender roles. Part of the Dr. Phil episode showed a survey that was conducted over attributes they find desirable in a man and a woman. One of the top attributes desired in men was financial success, at 23% voting this to be an attribute they really wanted. Comparatively, amongst women, only 8% voted this as a desirable attribute. However, guess what came on top for being a woman? How hot you are, how you look. So many smooth-brained men were like, yeah, she's gotta look proper good. And the issue with this is Estee's content perpetuates and further pushes these ideologies of a woman not having her own financial control, not having her own resources to pull from, but much rather on how you look. Like I said, Esty Williams' content is very, very social media ready. She's always very well presented and put together. She has this very classical look that she always presents as in her videos. This modern day TradWife outlook, which glorifies the aesthetic of a TradWife, in turn reinforces these outdated and harmful stereotypes, suggesting that a woman's primary value lies in their appearance and subservience. Because like I said, Esty Williams will champion women to be submissive to their husbands. And that brings me on to my next talking point, which is financial control and subservience. You know, a key example of just the sheer power imbalance in Esty Williams' ideologies is this TikTok. The money he makes is our money, but as the head of the house, he gets the final say on big purchases and investments. Let him lead. This will benefit you, I promise. Winky face. Now, it probably won't come as a surprise to most of you, but I suck at inferring. But what does the winky face mean in this situation? No, seriously, what does it mean? Like, I've sat and stared at this for like 10 minutes. I'm like, what does she mean by the winky face? It will be worth it. Will it be worth it? I would quite like this, honey. That's a no. That's a no, sweetie. Now, like you said in one of your other videos, your apron is your uniform. Again, not joking. She says stuff like this. This is just heinous. This is heinous. And what does the winky face mean? Can someone please explain to me in the comment section what she means by the winky face? I would like to learn. But perpetuating this idea that the husband gets the final say is just so weird because it forgoes the woman's interests in it because he gets to have power over what she can and can't have, which I don't really like. This dynamic really fosters financial control, which in turn limits a woman's independence and autonomy, thus perpetuating a genuine power imbalance in the relationship. You know, a true, happy, wholesome relationship, and I'm not a marriage counselor, but just someone who has dated in their life, but true, happy, wholesome relationships work on democracy, true democracy, and I don't mean like with a elected prime minister or president. I just mean two people that can openly communicate and share what they want, their needs and desires, their wishes, and what they hope to achieve. But Esty's wishes and desires are completely being shaped by her husband. No matter how well she'll present it for social media, just like, I'm gonna put on my apron now, and then I'm gonna dress up like a little 1950s housewife. Boop, 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 boop. We should be worried by this. And speaking of Esty's husband, let's talk about him and his page he set up where he wants to talk about masculinity and what it means to be a leader. Ugh, this is terrible. This is steps in the wrong direction for progression. Basically, he made a TikTok page where he's like, I'm gonna teach you how to be masculine, how to be leaders, because this society has weak men. We're gonna make them great again. Make men great again. As if we haven't seen for like the last thousands of years why toxic masculinity just sucks. Wars are happening. Sexism occurs. We don't need more of this ideology. We want to stop these negative gender stereotypes, my friend. In this constant fight we're having for progression where we're trying to teach men that they can open up and speak about their emotions, and you don't have to be this, tough piece of steak that feels no things. You know, you can actually converse and have some sort of depth to you. You don't just have to think war and steak. You can have other interests, my friend. Maybe you like art. Maybe you just like dancing. Maybe you're a furry. Maybe this man is a furry. I wonder what a trad furry would look like. That's probably a video for another day. Now, fortunately for us, he hasn't released any content yet about how to be masculine and how to be a leader. So maybe he's still learning how to be a leader himself, or maybe he just realized it's all a bit silly and he should not perpetuate toxic masculinity online. I think there's a big enough problem in society as it is. You don't want to be feeding more young, impressionable minds this old rigid concept of what it means to be a man. Also, these ideologies of being a leader and, being a provider just isn't realistic to society. This kind of toxic masculine ideology they love to reiterate is just like, men should be leaders, when if you look back through historically, men haven't been leaders always at all. And if we're going by present history times, I think we do need a little less male leadership, because it does seem to lead to a lot of wars and injustices going on in the world. It's just a lot of politics these days seems like dick swinging competitions and being like, well, my army's this big. And I think all of that is cringe and not cool. I think the true beauty of like masculinity and, femininity is within that. It's like this umbrella for us all to express ourselves in our true authentic self. That's what we should be pushing and promoting, for us to truly express ourselves how we want to present, And if that just so happens that you're this giga Chad that's just like, yeah, that awesome, sweet, that's your truth, live your truth, bestie, go get it, I guess. But within that, you should also have the knowledge and capabilities of understanding that just because someone else doesn't present like that doesn't make them worse or less than you. It's just they don't want to be a stereotypical Hollywood man from the 1970s. Their brains develop past that. But you do you, go get it, I guess. I feel another real important talking point I wanted to mention, because I think in this conversation there's room for misinterpretation. And basically that point is I want to make the distinction between being a TradWife and a stay-at-home parent. Many parents may opt to stay at home and look after the children while the other parent works due to things like the high cost of childcare. In the UK, this is a very common thing that happens. One parent will stay at home to look after the child while the other works, because the costs of childcare outweigh their income, which is crazy and heinous, but this is just the reality of the current society we are living in. But this isn't the commitment to this ideological vibes of being a TradWife, it's just the reality due to the current economy. And I also should note that like wanting to stay at home and, be a stay-at-home guardian for the children is awesome and lovely, and I can totally see why people would want to do that. Just really spend the most pivotal moments of your child's life being there and nurturing them. Awesome, that's great. That doesn't make you a TradWife, don't worry. Being a TradWife is adhering to these toxic ideologies which have negative stereotypes, which basically tell you to submit to your husband. Your hubby gets the final word. Never do that. Of course, you want to spend your life with your life partner, the person you procreated with, the person you may be married to or whatever. That's something I think a lot of people crave. But you should also be aware of the realities and have a contingency plan to fall back on, e.g. prenups, which Esty will tell you don't need. And dear Lord, can't you see how that can go wrong very quickly? Or just like having some work experience and education to fall back on. And I know not everybody gets access to education growing up, but if you do have the option to access those resources, it's often good to explore those avenues. I also feel I should comment another reason why people will stay at home and look after the children in situations where they may not even necessarily want to. It's just the lack of good support network. Esty says, if her husband died in that very sad situation, if that did occur, she'll just go home and live with her parents. Like I said, that is a very fortunate support structure to be a part of. Many may not have family members that, could help out with childcare, so they are forced to stay at home and look after the children. Esty's concept of being a TradWife is just not realistic, nor is it really that inclusive. It's for the privileged few that want to perpetuate archaic ideologies in a cinematic way for social media. And due to the way she presents herself and the ideologies she promotes, it is no surprise that the TradWife movement is very entwined with far-right ideologies, and that is the next talking point. This modern-day TradWife TikTok lifestyle is unsurprisingly very popular in the far-right circles online. The ones that champion the stereotypical gender roles and hierarchical statuses. Creepy Old Man Incorporated love this. Ah, yes, we want the woman to be in the home whilst we do all the decision making and financial stuff. Don't worry, honey, you just put on your apron and bake some stuff, which you can't seem to do that well, but anyway, you do that. Why, we're out there doing the real stuff, and we leave you with absolutely nothing when we decide to leave and upgrade to a newer, younger model. It's heinous, it's sad, and this is reality. And this is what you'll see in the comment sections. Lots of men being like, yeah, this is what I want. And then lots of women being like, this was my reality, and it went horribly, horribly wrong. Also, it is no surprise that SD Williams vocally supports Donald Trump. Of course, the woman that looks like this and talks about being submissive and all that stuff supports Donald Trump. Donald Trump, I think, may have made her. I think this actually may be Donald Trump in costume. That would make perfect sense now. This is Donald Trump. Donald Trump confirmed. But the views of a TradWife perfectly tie into that of the conservative political beliefs of this patriarchal society where the man is the head of the house who gets the say and his wife is his submissive. And that sounds as heinous as you can infer it to. It really is. And if I haven't made it clear enough, I do want to say, wanting to be a stay-at-home parent, awesome, very rewarding, amazing. You know, make sure it's all democratic and fair and you've got things set up in place should you wish to part ways at the end of it all. Very sad. I hope that never happens to anyone, but this is just the reality we live in where sometimes people fall out of love. To be loved is to be changed, Mr. Squidward. The TradWife perpetuates these archaic, conservative beliefs and ideologies of how a woman should conduct themselves without any personal empowerment. And that is a real danger and corrosion to societal growth, which is why I think it's so important we talk about things like this and have conversation. And with that, I want to conclude. The modern day TradWife movement on TikTok, specifically with SD Williams, presents the idealized and privileged view of home life that is just completely unrealistic for most. It perpetuates these very harmful gender stereotypes, promotes financial dependence and control, and aligns with these very terrifying, counterproductive far-right ideologies that emphasize traditional gender roles. And while some may find fulfillment in these roles, it's crucial to recognize and critique the broader societal implications and the pressures it places on both women and men, who, you know, just conform to outdated norms. So with that, I think I'd like to open up the comment section for conversation. Let's discuss this and dissect it as a team for what it represents to society. You know, share your thoughts and opinions. I will be down there trying to talk to as many as I possibly can. If you want to watch another video essay, there'll be one here. And I really truly do appreciate all the constant support and growth on this channel and the openness for conversation. It's really lovely to see. Until next time, I'll be in the comment section and I'll also be in the next video. I don't know if that makes sense, but we're gonna just roll with it. I've been your boy Cattle's Life. Okay, bye.